In October 2009, the company my brother and sister founded 12 years before was on the verge of bankruptcy. They couldn't pay salaries, the team was falling apart, and to make things worse, a project with an important client went south, leaving a taste of failure and frustration in our mouths. So that day, in the afternoon, nearly crying, we three siblings made a decision. If we wanted to reboot the company, something had to change. We never ever wanted to bow in front of a client. Hello, my name is Fernando Polo. I work at Good Rebels, and in the next 20 minutes, I'll talk to you about our peculiar culture, our self management principles, and our journey towards radical transparency. The QR code you can see now, let you download the slides I'm showing, because there are some useful links you'll find on the bottom right corner of the slides, and use it as a resource before our live Q&A session with Elaine. One of the things we realized is that though we worked on the digital realm, we weren't too digital inside. But what do we do? What do we mean when we talk about being digital or about digital values? Things like agility is in the DNA of digital startups. Meritocracy plays a key role when running an open source software community. And if you look at the rise of the blogging phenomenon 15 years ago, the dynamics of conversation to share and build knowledge were king. And so we decided to inject some of these digital values into our culture. Since we restarted that journey in 2009, Good Rebels has grown to have more than 100 coworkers across 4 offices in Europe and Latin America, working for clients like Toyota, IKEA, LG Electronics, or Pepe Jeans. We deliver strategy, creating digital products for our clients, buying media, and managing engagement on social networks through creativity and content and the like. And our special culture has helped us integrate people with different skills, like people coming from data, design, creativity, and technology, and from different nationalities too. As I'm talking in a master's for international HR management, I'll explain a bit more about our global team. We like to say that at Good Rebels we combine Anglo logic and Latin magic. We were born in Madrid, but we have a team in the UK based in Brighton, in like the Sussex University, and this helps us stand out in Spain and Latin America. But being in Mexico makes us also different in Europe. So globalization makes it more important for brands to have a global point of view with a local twist. Managing country cultures is tricky, but our inclusive Latin culture makes it easier. Let me talk a bit more about how we work on this culture and some characteristics of it. I joined the company in 2009. After that infamous day, we decided to start seriously working on our culture. We would review our management and leadership principles, but above all, we would stick to these principles, not letting anyone or any project to get in the way. We ran our first workshops about culture. We worked on the experience. Culture is not a list of do's and don'ts with a catalog of principles. Culture must be experienced in the organization. The behaviors that are promoted and rewarded by this organization must be aligned with the declared beliefs. We explain how we work on our culture using 3 circles: people, storytelling, and rituals. We hire and fire according to culture. We also create stories to explain our beliefs and the rituals to experience them. We have different internal tools to foster collaborations and a mindset of knowledge sharing. And at the time, we prompted everyone to write on our blog. We introduced also a session every Friday to have breakfast with guest speakers, with professors, entrepreneurs, artists, clients. In 10 years, we've hosted over 400 of our Rebel Fridays. And we also wanted to instill a spirit of entrepreneurship in the company. We coined a concept, Leadertarians, and we even wrote a book about it, where we shared readings, case studies, and stories about our company. The book explains ideas like open leadership and self-management. We will talk more about this later on. But to make a long story short, rebels enjoy a vast amount of autonomy in exchange for responsibility, all combined with the idea of love in the workplace. We often use three words to explain the idea behind libertarians, and people normally get intrigued about the concept of love in the workplace. Look, we have two basic criteria to hire people and keep people. We want a good professional, but we also want a kind-hearted person. And over time, the second part have become paramount. Empathy and collaboration is key. If you think that this sounds too airy-fairy, I encourage you to read a bit more about the science behind it, following the link on the slide. In the end, we want to build trust, but building trust is tricky. It's a give and take exercise. So if you give autonomy to people you trust, and people that feel trusted are willing to walk the extra mile. And part of this journey is about decentralizing decision making. So difficult. It's about losing control. It takes time. For example, look at the most important decision in a company, hiring. Every time I read about a CEO of a company declaring hiring is so critical that I interview each and every candidate, I cannot help but smile. But what a nice example of decentralized decision making, right? Hiring and firing should be done entirely by the members of the team. And once you trust your peers, your colleagues, everything's easier. At Good Rebels, we have no fixed schedules, or people work entirely remotely, where they want remotely when they please, where they please, negotiate these kind of decisions with their teams. Teams organize their holidays, and nobody even counts the day we take off. That's why promoting the idea of self-management is so important. Let's review quickly some principles and books and cases of self-management. The hierarchical structures we know have been designed for efficiency, not for innovation. Middle managers are there to pass on top-down orders. Okay, it's not surprised that not many employees feel engaged at work. We need innovation to survive in the digital era. Hierarchies stifle innovation. We need networks and networks of networks, managing organizations like living organisms that grow and evolve with flexibility, not with fixed organizational charts. On your right, you'll see how Valve employees depict their organizational chart. Valve is an influential video game company, famous for their no bosses mantra. It looks more like a network than a hierarchy. But self-management is not a digital invention. A few industrial companies adopted radical self-management long before the internet became mainstream, like 3M or Gore-Tex or Semco in Brazil. But I'm going to tell you the story of Irizar and Koldo Sarachaga. In 1991, Koldo joined as CEO of Irizar, a cooperative of Grupo Mondragón in the Basque Country in Spain. The company was in distress. And by implementing a system focused on the people, like Koldo managed to achieve 40% annual growth over 14 years. He established autonomous manufacturing teams inside the factories that worked with decentralized decision taking. It became one of the biggest luxury coach manufacturers in the world, with over 3,000 employees and factories in India, Morocco, and Brazil. By the year 2000, The Economist described Irizar as the most efficient company in its sector. In 2008, Koldo established an organization that has helped to radically transform many companies. They have a set of Operational guidelines and the owners of the companies joining the program must sign before these guidelines. For example, the company cannot fire workers during an economic downturn, like the coronavirus crisis. The ratio of higher versus lower salaries must not be higher than 2.1, 2.2. And 30% of profit before taxes must be distributed to everybody according to the salary level. If you look at our rebellion architecture, our organizational chart, you'll see that we put the client and our people working with them at the center. These client squads are fully autonomous and receive support from liquid specialized teams. And we, of course, also we got rid of titles, but natural hierarchies emerged based on experience. And formerly called directors have retained some power. But we promote candor, open feedback, critical thinking, and also we got rid of fear. These former directors cannot directly fire, promote, or raise salaries. It's commonly heard in our corridors that empowered younger rebels are hard to boss around, and that's a good thing. But one key trait of self-managed companies is transparency. In our case, radical transparency. Let me take you through some of the milestones of our journey. In 2012, our Rebel Outlook was born. The 8 directors at the time hold monthly meetings to review the financials. At some point, we asked, why keeping this information to ourselves? Why not opening this session to everyone in the company? And though 6 directors at the time voted against this idea, we just did it. And now, once every month, the whole company, 4 of its 100 rebels, connect across different time zones to share project statuses and year-to-date financial results. And new hires don't believe it. It gives an ultimate sense of nothing to hide. In 2014, the yearly 360 performance appraisals became transparent. Each rebel knows the quantitative and qualitative evaluation received by their peers. Results are shared so that everyone can see the grades and feedback we are giving each other. And we also, in 2016, decided to make our salaries open to. Every rebel knows what everyone makes, partners and dividends included. And finally, in 2018, we ran a pilot to help people set their own salaries. We called it crowd-setting salaries. The first stage, everyone awards points people they think deserve a higher raise. Then we use a formula to determine the percentage of raise each person would receive. The formula takes into consideration things like salary ranges. And in a third stage, a team of 5 elected rebels would take care of complaints. We've been doing this for 2 years now. We've made a lot of fine-tuning. I can share some learnings with you in our Q&A session if you're interested. But none of these measures should be conceived as an isolated item. It's not a fixed recipe. It's a set of initiatives seeking to build trust and foster autonomy. It's taken us years to move forward, step by step. I wouldn't recommend many of these measures to any company if the context is not properly set. But let me finish this talk reflecting on our purpose. Inspire organizations to become more human-centered. First, I want to recommend you a book, Drive, by Daniel Pink. Pink gathers strong evidence published in academic papers over the last 40 years that intrinsic motivators win over extrinsic ones. Pink talks about autonomy and mastery and purpose. We've already talked about autonomy, so what about the higher purpose? What is your company doing to improve society while making a profit? Soichiro Honda, the founder of Honda, put it this way: we strive to become a company that society wants to exist. Inspired by our work on early social media 10 years ago, in social media at that time, you didn't impose connections. You had to work hard to deserve them. We adopted in 2011 a simple mantra: people first, connected with an old design mantra, user centricity, and amplified by the fact that digitalization gives individuals more power. And third, we combine this with a powerful idea that has gained momentum in recent years. Corporations are not there just to maximize shareholder value. They have to balance profit and purpose and serve a wider array of stakeholders. So this is what Good Rebels exists for. We want to inspire organizations to become more human-centered. We use 3 journeys to simplify this idea. Human-centered organizations obsess about excelling in each of these journeys. They are intertwined. A very common one related with the idea of customer centricity, the consumer journey. But it has to be intertwined with this employee journey that has become more common as of late. And then the 3rd journey, the citizen. We are not just talking about corporate social responsibility here. It's about selling products and services that create shared value with shareholders and the wider society, with citizens, with entrepreneurs, universities, local communities, etc. We work every day with our clients to create digital experience, to help them build brand awareness and customer engagement and sales. And by being honest and putting the users first, we hope that our daily work will convince them to become an HCO, which in turn will increase their customer lifetime value, will make their employees happier, and will create value for society. Thank you very much for your attention. I want to recap quickly some of the ideas. Okay, so Good Rebels was founded in 1997, but the 2008 crisis allowed us to reboot the company from scratch, focusing on culture, promoting digital values and self-management, and becoming obsessed with this idea of radical transparency as a way to foster trust. We've grown to 110 people and expanded internationally, recently acquiring a couple of companies specialized on UX and in UX and digital media. Good Rebels works to connect brands with people through digital experiences. But in the long run, we exist to inspire organizations to become more human-centered. You can access the slides with the QR code, where you'll find links to additional readings and resources and my contact details. I'm looking forward to seeing you all at our live Q&A session with the Lens Room. See you then.